fellas. So, I just saw The Matrix Resurrections earlier today, and due to circumstances beyond my control, namely Omicron and adverse weather, it's another one like a wonderful one last year I watched HBO Max, and I gotta say, I, for one, absolutely loved it, and if I may be totally frank, it's probably the best entry I've seen since the original. Oh, and as per usual, before I get too into this movie, I'll talk about the other ones. A good place to start. Like, I saw the original thing, incidentally, also on TV when I was 11. I was blown away, and it still does after all this time. Yeah, even though one state of the art tech may not be part of its time, what it has to say about how the human mind and humanity itself in the machine age is as mind-bending as thought-provoking. And even though I didn't and I had the same feelings towards the sequels that other people did, I totally understand and why other people went into them exactly. So, and the Animatrix, which I viewed earlier this year, is definitely a really good anime spin-off, which happens to be canon to the main movies. And now this one, which sees many, but not all, the cast crew returning, aim for the first installment of franchise in 18 years. I just say it was worth the wait, so let's get started. So, it's definitely. It's one that's. Okay, so the story takes place about 60 years after the events of the original trilogy, which I also they show that much has changed and since the earlier films, and which and also it's a new build the Matrix are working with as the film does get into detail, but I'll go into more detail in my spoiler review in January 2022. Who, uh, after Thomas Anderson, better known by his screen name Neo, as well as played again by Keanu Reeves, as well as Trinity, played again by Carrie-Anne Moss, have their bodies back after the events of previous films, but their minds, well, that's another story. Right, so again, I'll get into more detail in my spoiler review, but even though it helps if you've seen the other movies, especially the very first one, and if this happens to be your first exposure franchise, you're probably going to be able to follow it. Most likely, I mean, if you've especially as someone like me who's seen other films from the directors, and I definitely have yet to find like the budget estimates yet. I don't think they've been released yet, but this one, much like the sequels, is among the price entries where the most accurate estimate seems to be at this time is $165 million, and I believe it. So, between Omicron as well as how big a hit that Spider-Man has been without a streaming service to fall back on, mind you, and under quote unquote normal circumstances that have a much clearer idea of how this is going to do. As I have continued to learn in this situation, these are not normal circumstances. Still, out of all the other movies that are coming out in the winter solstice, is even though Spidey may still take the gold, if there was I had to pick one movie that would be most likely to take the silver, this would probably be it. I mean, and I gotta say, a a not only from a visual point of view, it plays with a lot of the one of the motifs of previous movies and introduces a new flair of its own. Like this, like the train fight scene, is definitely even more expansive what you see in trailers. To be honest, I mean, as well as some of these other the gunfights. I mean, and also some of it, especially given like the arcs characters have in this one about rediscovering their identity, as well as entirely new ones. I think my favorite character had to be Bugs, and yes, another reason why I got a more of my iTunes Squad the Matrix shirt for this review, who it's definitely makes much better live action Ghost in the Shell adaptation than the infamous 2017 film the whole franchise does, man. Especially given how the way the not new elements that they since the events of the previous movies have definitely made impact both in the Matrix and this film's real world, man. again, I won't be getting into too much detail here, which will give an idea of how much it surprised me. Yeah. Likewise, I had no problem with Yahya Abdul Mateen II taking the reins of Morpheus from Lawrence Fishburne. It's pretty simple, given how he was occupied with other projects, my understanding. Least of all, John Wick Chapter 4, which incidentally is another Keanu film I was interested in. And, like, given how many times I had to reshuffle the release dates, I am glad that worked out like this because I'm interested in both these movies, but I wouldn't have enough time to go see one right away if they kept the original pattern. So there are benefits. I mean, this also includes me talking about the Hawkeye finale, which I'll be watching in a little bit, and the also my Pokemon City Jungle review and my look at the second part or the Amphibious Season 3, including Froggy Little Christmas. Last few ones I have on the Advent calendar. I mean, there's so. And again, it also means that Bill Pope was also occupied with Shang-Chi and other projects, so he couldn't come back. But again, cinematographers that definitely had quite the heavy task asked to take over the franchise, and they rose amply to the occasion. Like how once I get a chance to see this theatrically, I'm taking it as I took that pledge, and it also ties in what I also mentioned about the returns. I mean, if they give their word about a movie doing well online, also doing well in theaters, I am definitely one that has no choice but hold them to that. Under quote unquote normal circumstances, I have a clear idea of how they do, and yet these are not normal circumstances at all. I would say, hey, I mean, but if I'm being totally honest, like I mentioned with Tenet last year, here, it's a miracle that all of the ones on the slate made as much as they did, man. Given the circumstances, the current situation didn't really invent this kind of business model, but it definitely put like a cinder block on the gas pedal, man, so to speak. About accelerating its popularity. And with that in mind, it's still very much a piece of WB's legacy, the whole series, and how it means a lot. As like people discovering their identity. Like I'm one of those people that tends to be one of the science fiction aspects and the philosophy aspects of the series, but the concepts brought forth helps that it works both like as effects for an action film as well as raising some often but indeed thought provoking questions about who we are as people, and also people wondered how might discover the Matrix in this day and age. And I will not say how exactly, but the film does acknowledge that. And if everyone from like Speedy Gonzales to even Sonic the Hedgehog, and how they're piggybacking on this promotion as well, oh, it definitely shows how it's no different than any other one I saw growing up. Which, even if they were definitely not for younger sets, of course we weren't gonna let that stop us, man. So, and I definitely recommend this, and wherever I go from here, the choice I leave to you. My final rating is 4 stars out of 4, and I will definitely see you soon with my remaining reviews for Christmas week and with my spoiler review of this movie in January 2022. Take care, everyone. Mm-hmm.